Welcome back to another episode of No Shame with Shane, where the takes have no lies, no bias, but most importantly, no shame. Now, I'm reacting to this Eagles Broncos game, but I needed a few days to calm down. I need I needed a few days to just stick to myself, get my emotions right, get my mind right. I needed that time to calm myself down because I was extremely irritated on Sunday. I was extremely irritated on Sunday. One, because Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown need to get on the same page. Like that's clearly it's not the biggest issue, but it is a significant issue within this offense. The fact that our really star duo, one of the best quarterback receiver duos in the NFL, are not on the same page. Like it just I look at that missed opportunity, that missed opportunity between Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown, that missed bomb that would have put us up 24-3 in the third quarter. And it's honestly a deeper sign of the lack in connection that these two have right now. And in an offense that is as poorly run as it is, you need that connection to work between Jalen and AJ. Not having that connection on top of the horrible system that they are playing in under Kevin Patullo is it's really just throwing everything off. Like I'm looking at that missed opportunity, missed bomb. There's no question AJ Brown should have kept running on the route. Like AJ Brown showed horrible effort on that one play. But I mean, y'all know it only takes one time. Like on the field, coaches will always say it only takes one time. Like AJ Brown is one of the hardest working players in the NFL. Not on that play. That play was mostly on AJ Brown. AJ Brown should have kept running. Now, looking at Jalen Hurts might have put a little too much on it, but I mean, he was just trying to give AJ Brown room to run under it. Like, if AJ Brown keeps running on that route with his speed, with his hands, with his wingspan, there's no question he's reeling that in. He's reeling that in, and the Eagles are up 24-3 going into the fourth quarter. But looking at that missed shot, that missed moon ball, it's a sign of a deeper issue here, which is AJ and Jalen not having the chemistry that we saw going into this season. Like something is missing. Like it was a sign of a deeper issue, and it's an issue that needs to be addressed in order for this offense to be able to win games in the future. Has to be addressed in order for this offense to win games in the future. Like if we had a more competent play caller at OC, I would say that's something we could live with. Like it wouldn't be as concerning. It was one play. We've seen these guys connect on multiple shots like this in the past 3 years. Well, maybe not multiple, but on enough occasions to know that it's something that when we do see it, it is money. When they do have that opportunity, that's usually money. But because we don't have a competent play caller at OC right now, because the offense is not as dynamic as we know it can be, that connection between AJ and Jalen is something that we need to see. It's something that needs to exist within this unit. And honestly, like that's really a huge reason why it just shows you just things are out of whack right now for the offense. Like a meeting between AJ, Jalen, and Saquon Barkley was needed. Like when that news broke, it honestly gave me some comfort because it's definitely something that needed to happen. A conversation between those three specifically, between the three captains of the offense, Jalen, AJ, and Saquon. It's a meeting that needed to happen because the offense obviously starts with them. AJ Brown in the passing game, Saquon Barkley setting the tone in the run game, and obviously everything going through Jalen. Those three need to be on the same page because of how terribly run and organized this offensive scheme is right now under Kevin Patullo. This is the offensive scheme right now is so unbalanced. It makes no sense. Like there is like this is the most unbalanced offense in the NFL. The most unbalanced offense in the NFL. But what's comforting is seeing the elite guys on this offense at the core of this offense understanding that there is a problem and that winning the games that they have won in the past leading up to the Broncos, winning those 4 games leading up to the Broncos is not enough. W's are good, but the method and how those W's are being earned also matters. The road also matters. That's something that this trio has recognized and something that made them want to just discuss it amongst themselves as players, as teammates. That's a comforting thing to see as a fan, whether you're a fan, whether you're a coach, whether you're just another teammate on the team. That's a comforting thing to see in terms of these guys getting together amongst themselves and trying to iron out the kinks and miscommunication issues amongst themselves. Because they have more of that responsibility is on them because of the OC that they have right now calling the plays. Those 3 have to be on one accord, on the same page, in order for the Eagles to win games in spite of who is at OC right now. Like, honestly, looking at the OC position right now for the Eagles, Kevin Patullo might be the worst offensive coordinator in the NFL. Like, I would honestly be shocked if Patullo survives the entire season. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Kevin Patullo ends up being replaced midseason the same way Brian Johnson was replaced in 2023. I would be shocked. Kevin Patullo is the worst offensive coordinator in the NFL right now. Like, you look at some other failing offenses, other failing offenses with failing OCs right now. Nick Foles with the Tennessee Titans, 31st right now in total offense. You have not OCs, but play callers and Mike McDaniel with the Dolphins. That offensive has had its issues through the first 4 weeks. Kevin Stefanski, with the Browns, of course, that offense is having issues right now. Like, you can at least say for those guys that, they don't have the best O-lines protecting their quarterback. In Stefanski's case, he hasn't really had a reliable quarterback for the future through the first 4 to 5 weeks of the season. You can spread the blame around to different areas as to why those offenses are failing. Mike McDaniel and Kevin Stefanski at least have a history of being capable play callers on offense. If you look at Kevin Patullo has no excuses. Kevin Patullo has the most complete offense in the NFL. One of the best O-lines in the NFL. Having the quarterback that he does, having the skill players that he does. With that unit Kevin Patullo has in Philly, the Eagles are the 30th ranked offense in total yards. They're the 31st ranked offense in passing yards, and they're the 25th ranked offense in rushing yards. Kevin Patullo has no excuses as to why his offense is underperforming. Kevin Patullo is the worst offensive coordinator in the NFL. If you put any one of those other OCs on this team, if you give us any other offensive coordinator in the NFL, this offense is more productive with those guys as opposed to Kevin Patullo. Kevin Patullo is the worst offensive coordinator in the NFL because he is underperforming with what is supposed to be the best offense in the NFL. With what is the most complete offense in the NFL. There are no weaknesses in this offensive unit. So if there are no weaknesses in this offensive unit, if the Eagles have the best offensive line in football, if they have a top 3 to top 2 quarterback in the NFL, if they have a top 3 receiver duo in the NFL, if they have the best running back in the NFL, then all fingers point to Patullo as to why this offense is underperforming. Patullo has no excuses. He has absolutely no excuses. And honestly, when we look at the history of this Eagles team within this recent Super Bowl era that the Eagles have walked into, have emerged in, the biggest, like, we look at how the landscape of the league right now, right? Look at the landscape of the league right now. The biggest threat to the Eagles is not the Chiefs. The biggest threat to the Eagles is not the Ravens. The biggest threat to the Eagles is not the Bills or the Chargers or the Bengals. It's not the Bucks or the Commanders or the Vikings or the Lions. The biggest threat to the Eagles right now, and what has always been, is the play calling. The biggest threat to the Eagles has been the offensive play calling since 2022. Since after Shane Steichen left after that 2022 Super Bowl season, the offensive play calling has been the biggest obstacle, the biggest competition that this Eagles team has had to face in the past 3 years. There has been no bigger threat to this Eagles offense than Brian Johnson, than Kellen Moore, and Kevin Patullo. No other team has posed a bigger threat to this offensive group than the internal obstacle that has been the offensive play calling. Like, the Eagles have had to consistently overcome play calling since Shane Steichen left to become the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. That's been the biggest issue for this offense. Now, yes, we won a Super Bowl with Kellen Moore, but don't let that fool you. Kellen Moore was not any better of a play caller than Brian Johnson. I'll give Kellen Moore the edge against Kevin Patullo. But Kellen Moore was not a head and shoulders better play caller than Brian Johnson and Kevin Patullo. It's not that big of a gap. The difference Kellen Moore had was that he had an MVP candidate in Saquon Barkley just go off in his first year in Philly. So if we're looking at this group as a collective, Brian Johnson, Kellen Moore, now Kevin Patullo, those three guys have been a bigger threat to this Eagles team than any other opposing team that the Eagles have seen in the regular season, in the playoffs, and in the Super Bowl. Nothing else has been more dangerous than the offensive play callers that we have had in that position since Shane Steichen, since 2022. Play calling is the only kryptonite of this offense. It's the only kryptonite. And it's the only thing that you can reasonably point to as to why this offense has underperformed. In an offense that has the best offensive line in football, with a future Hall of Famer in Lane Johnson, multiple Pro Bowlers in Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson and Jordan Mailata, multiple All-Pro guys, multiple Pro Bowl guys, one Hall of Famer, in an offense that has the best receiver in football in A.J. Brown, in arguably a top 3 receiver in the NFL, in an offense that has the best running back in the NFL, a reigning offensive player of the year in Saquon Barkley, in an offense that has a top 2 quarterback in the NFL in Jalen Hurts, a former MVP candidate and a Super Bowl MVP, the offensive play calling is the only thing that you can look at and see is the problem. The offensive play calling is the only thing that can be reasonably identified within this offensive unit as to the weakness. There are no other weaknesses within this offensive unit other than who we have calling the plays on the sideline. That's the only weakness this offense has. And honestly, looking at that, it honestly just shows me how legit Jalen Hurts is as a quarterback. Jalen Hurts is not the problem. With the way this offense has underperformed statistically, with the way this offense has underperformed statistically, Jalen Hurts is not the problem. Jalen Hurts has regularly had to overcome play calling. Jalen Hurts, despite the poor play calling he had in 2023 with Brian Johnson, he was still a 3,000-yard passer. He was still a playoff quarterback. Despite the offense, despite the lacking in play calling he had under Kellen Moore last year, he was still a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He was still a Super Bowl MVP. Despite the play calling Jalen Hurts has seen this year, he still leads quarterbacks. He still leads all quarterbacks in rushing touchdowns. He is 4-1. He has, I believe, less turnovers than any other elite quarterback in the NFL right now. Like, Jalen Hurts has regularly had to overcome the play calling on the sideline after Shane Steichen. Like, there's no way you watch this Broncos game and say Jalen Hurts is the problem. There's no way you watch that game and say Jalen Hurts is the problem. With 280 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 60% completion percentage, a 100% passer rating, no turnovers, there's no way you can look at Jalen Hurts and think that he is the problem. You all were saying Jalen Hurts isn't capable of moving the ball down the field. He is not capable of moving the ball through the air. He turns around and throws for 280 yards, just under 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, a 100% passer rating with no turnovers. He not only put numbers up through the air, but he also did it while taking care of the football. He even drew up one of the touchdowns he had to draw up himself. One of the touchdowns he had through the air, to the 48-yard wheel route pass to Saquon Barkley, that touchdown, Jalen Hurts drew up himself. Jalen Hurts had to move Patullo aside to draw a game-winning play, a game-changing play for this Eagles offense. There's no way you can look at Jalen Hurts and say that he is the problem. There's no way you watch this Broncos game and say that Jalen Hurts is the problem. There's no way. Almost 300 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers, drawing up touchdown plays himself, moving Kevin Patullo out of the way. There's no way you can say Jalen Hurts is the problem. If Josh Allen or Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes, if any of those guys had the type of day that Jalen Hurts had against the Broncos, with the play calling that they with also the offensive play calling that Jalen Hurts had, there is no way you guys would be blaming those quarterbacks for losing the game. If the roles were reversed, and if it were Josh, Pat, Lamar, or Joe in place of Jalen Hurts, they would not be getting the same type of blame that Jalen Hurts is getting right now. You all would be saying, oh, well, those guys did everything they could to win the game. It was the defense that gave up, that last touchdown to Evan Ingram as to why the Broncos lost the game. It was AJ Brown who should have kept running on the route as opposed to him being overthrown. If the roles were reversed, if it were any one of those 4 guys in place of Jalen Hurts, they would get the benefit of the doubt while Jalen Hurts would get the blame. Like the double standards for this quarterback conversation right now in the NFL are crazy to me. They're crazy to me. Because NFL fans would rather see Josh, Pat, Lamar, Joe throw for huge numbers through the air, dominate the stats, dominate the score, dominate the box score, and lose, than Jalen Hurts not being as flashy in the box score and winning. But Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow specifically get more respect and more praise for being flashy in the box score and losing than Jalen Hurts does not being flashy and winning games. It's honestly insane to me. It's honestly insane to me. Like, no matter what Jalen Hurts does, no matter what he does, whether he has a big day through the air, whether he has a big day on the ground, or whether he doesn't, there's always something that Jalen Hurts apparently is not doing right. Jalen Hurts was winning games and was not putting up huge numbers. Jalen Hurts was the problem. Jalen Hurts putting up big numbers through the air, sizable numbers through the air, and losing a game, Jalen Hurts is the problem. Like, no matter what Jalen Hurts does on the field, the Jalen Hurts hate is real. Y'all are gonna blame Jalen Hurts regardless of what happens. Regardless of what Jalen Hurts does on the field, he is never gonna get the slack. Y'all will never give Jalen Hurts the respect and credit he deserves, like you guys are super willing and enthusiastic to give Lamar, Josh, and Joe Burrow, even though they haven't accomplished half of what Jalen Hurts has in the postseason. You all literally praise the flashy quarterbacks and their flashy stats for hardly accomplishing anything, but will disrespect Jalen Hurts, who is a champion, who is a winner, who is a Super Bowl MVP, and honestly has beaten all four of those quarterbacks, looking at Lamar, looking at Josh, looking at Joe, looking at Pat, who has beaten all four of those quarterbacks in their prior matchups. It just doesn't make sense to me. The double standards are so real when it comes to the quarterback conversation in the NFL. It honestly makes no sense. But something else that I think was proven in this game is that the Broncos are a legit team. The Broncos are a legit team. You guys laughed at me when I said the Broncos are a true contender coming out of the AFC. You guys laughed at me when I said the Broncos, other than after the Chiefs, have the best chance of getting to the Super Bowl, of winning the AFC. But we saw in this game how much competition this Broncos team has to offer. Like, yeah, the offensive play calling definitely held the Eagles back. If we had better offensive play calling, the Eagles win this game, no question. But it wouldn't have been a blowout. This was going to be a close game regardless, because of the defense that the Broncos have and because of the talent on offense that they have. Looking at this defense, they have a top 3 pass rush in the NFL right now, headlined by Zach Allen and Nick Bonito, who got home for sacks against Jalen Hurts. They have one of the better secondaries in the NFL right now. Obviously, a defensive player of the year in Pat Surtain. This is a unit. And they have a solid linebacker core with Alex Singleton. And Drake Greenlaw hasn't even been on the field yet. Imagine what this defense could look like when Drake Greenlaw is back healthy. This is an elite defense that the Broncos have, but it's also in complement to the talented offense that they have. Courtland Sutton is one of the most underrated receivers in the NFL. If that's not something that was proven before, it was definitely proved in the way that he played against Quinion Mitchell, a guy who easily is one of the elite corners in the NFL right now. Cortland Sutton is one of the premier receivers in this in the NFL, and he showed it against the Eagles. J.K. Dobbins is one of the most dependable running backs in the NFL. We're forgetting that he was a top 10 rusher, or he would have been a top 10 rusher last year with the Chargers if he hadn't have gotten injured and tore his Achilles. The Broncos have a talented running back in J.K. Dobbins. They honestly have an elite wide receiver one in Cortland Sutton. They have a good offensive line. But they also have a quarterback in Bo Nix who is steadily showing improvement. Bo Nix at the quarterback position against the Eagles. 242 passing yards, 1 touchdown, no turnovers, 61% completion percentage. Only took 2 sacks on the day. Bo Nix is showing improvement from week to week. And I'm not saying Bo Nix is by any means a better quarterback than a Lamar, than a Josh, necessarily not even better than a Justin Herbert, but he is a quarterback that has potential. He is talented. He has a talented arm. He's very mobile. He is a quarterback that has shown steady improvement on a weekly basis. And he's playing within a system that is designed for the playoffs. This is a playoff caliber defense. We know how important defenses are in the postseason to getting to a Super Bowl. They have a coach. They have a Super Bowl winning coach, a coach who has that championship DNA in Sean Payton. Like, the Broncos right now have everything they need to be a contender, to be a true contender towards the end of the season. They have everything they need to be a playoff caliber team, to really be a Super Bowl caliber team with the way the AFC looks right now. They have elite coaching in Sean Payton. They have a talented offense with talented skill players around a quarterback that does have potential. And they have an elite defense. Like, this is an all-around complete team in the AFC. And we saw how legit of an opponent they are the way they played against the reigning Super Bowl champs in the Eagles. I said this before, I'm going to say it again. The way the AFC looks right now, with an injury-riddled Ravens team, with a hurt Lamar Jackson, a Bengals team without Joe Burrow, and honestly an injured Chargers team, losing both of their starting tackles, hurt on defense, losing both of their starting running backs. The Chiefs making the simple mistakes that they've showed that they can at least bleed, losing to the Jags on Monday. The way the AFC looks right now, the Broncos definitely have a good shot of getting to the Super Bowl. After the Chiefs, the Broncos have the best chance of getting to the Super Bowl and winning the conference. They proved that in the way they played against this Eagles team. But, looking ahead now, Eagles are now taking on the Giants on Thursday. I'm looking at this matchup. I'm looking at the conversations that have been had behind closed doors. I'm looking at the mistakes that were made against the Broncos. I honestly think this is a promising matchup for the Eagles. Honestly, the Eagles needed a game like this to wake them up. The Eagles needed a game like this Broncos game to wake them up. Honestly, on both sides of the ball. Defense has no doubt been playing better than the offense, but the Eagles squad needed a game like this. Needed that sort of kick to wake them up. Like, this was the perfect game to have before seeing this Giants team. Like, honestly, this Eagles-Giants game, I'm looking at this Eagles-Giants game. The Eagles are going to stop the Giants. The Eagles are going to stomp on the Giants. Like, this is honestly going to be a confidence builder game for the Birds on Thursday. This is going to be a confidence builder game, a stat pad game, a take out the garbage game for the Eagles against the Giants. No doubt. And honestly, that's the way it should be. After the way the Eagles lost on Sunday against the Broncos, that is exactly the type of game that we should see against the Giants. The way they lost against the Broncos, the Eagles should come in against the Giants and wipe the floor with them. And I'm looking at these individual matchups specifically. This should be a huge game for the D-line against the Giants. As bad as this offensive line is for the Giants, the D-line should be able to wreak havoc on Jackson Dart. Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis should be able to dominate the interior of that offensive line. Jalen Hunt should honestly have a statement-making game against the Giants. Zadarius Smith is honestly just going to keep doing what he's been doing. Like, Zadarius Smith honestly looks like the best pass rusher on the Eagles right now. Like, this Eagles D-line should be able to obliterate whatever is in that pocket for the Giants. Jackson Dart should be a super long night for Jackson Dart, the way we should see this Eagles D-line explode against this Eagles offensive line. We haven't really seen a game yet through 5 weeks where the Eagles D-line has just been completely dominant for 4 quarters. We haven't seen that yet. We saw that last year. We saw that, we've seen that in past seasons. We saw that obviously in 2022, one of the best D-lines in Eagles history. We haven't seen a game where this Eagles defensive line have set the tone early on and continue to just pound on an offense for 4 quarters. We've seen the linebackers set the tone. We've seen Zach Bond and Jahad Campbell set the tone. We've seen the secondary set the tone. We've seen Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean set the tone for this offense, and Andrew Makuba set the tone for this defense. We've seen flashes of certain guys on this D-line. We've seen Jalen Carter show flashes. We definitely saw Jordan Davis have a huge game. We haven't seen this D-line as a whole dominate as a collective unit the way we are used to seeing this, the way we are used to seeing this D-line perform. This is the game for us to get that sort of performance from this D-line. This should be a huge game for this D-tackle duo in JC and JD. This should be a statement game for Jalen Hunt and really Azeez Ojulari, who when he wasn't against the Broncos made some key plays, just hasn't been getting the playing time. And it should honestly, this should be a statement game for this D-line as a whole. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Jalen Hunt, Azeez Ojulari, Zadarius Smith. We should see this unit wreak havoc on a Jackson Dart-led offense. No question. The one thing I am a little worried about, though, in terms of matchups, is seeing this Giants defensive line with possibly no Landon Dickerson. I am a little worried about seeing arguably the most talented defensive line in football, Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau, Abdul Carter. Seeing that unit with no Landon Dickerson does worry me. At least with the way the scheme has looked for this Eagles offense in the past in the past 5 weeks. Having to see Dexter Lawrence with no Landon Dickerson does worry me. But I think with the understanding that it seems like Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, and Saquon Barkley have come to, still having the arguably the best tackle duo in the NFL with Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata, having one of the best centers in the NFL right now in Cam Jurgens, having a guard like Tyler Steen who has stepped up and been a very dependable piece as a starter on this offensive line as a guard. I'm not scared. Like, this should still be a win. Like, this Eagles offense should still be able to blow this Giants defense out of the water, even without Landon Dickerson. Like, despite the play calling, like with the, oh, I won't say despite the play calling, but with the understanding that the captains on offense have come to, with the talent that we have still on the field, there's no question this Eagles offense should not be able to pick this Giants defense apart. There's no reason why this Eagles offense should not be able to pick apart this weak Giants secondary. Now, a secondary that has improved, but this Giants secondary is not a secondary that should create competition for this Eagles passing game. I hope to see everyone on one accord on Thursday against the Giants. I hope to see way more of a balance than what we saw against the Broncos and than what we have seen over the last 4 weeks. If we see a balanced Eagles offense against this Giants team, if we see a scheme that actually makes sense, where Saquon Barkley is getting more than 6 carries in an NFL game, where A.J. Brown is getting more than 7 targets in an NFL game, where like if we see a truly balanced offensive scheme against this Giants team, this is a stat padding game for the Eagles on all fronts. It's a stat pad game for the defense, especially for this defensive line. It should be a stat padding game for this Eagles offense. Honestly, I expect this Giants offense to be completely shut down on Thursday. With no Malik Neighbors, it should be that much easier for the Eagles to shut down Cam Scatterboo in this run game. Like, with no Malik Neighbors, Quinion Mitchell and Kelee Ringo should have their sides of the field locked down. No question, Andrew Makuba and Reed Blankenship are going to play in a blanket coverage against these receivers. Not having to worry about a weapon like Malik Neighbors should be that much easier for Vic Fangio and this defense to completely shut down this run game from the Giants. If the Saints can do what they did against the Giants, there's no question the Eagles shouldn't be able to shut down this Giants offense on all fronts. Jackson Dart should have no luck through the air, and Cam Scatterboo should not be able to find any run lanes. Cam Scatterboo is going to have a long day going up head to head against Zach Bond and Jahad Campbell. It's going to be a long day. If he's not stuffed by Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis on the interior of the O-line, if he doesn't get squeezed back inside by Azeez Ojulari, it's going to be a long day for the run game, and it's going to be a long day for Jackson Dart in the passing game. But that's all we got for today's edition of No Shame with Shane. If you haven't already, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to all of our social media platforms, and I will be back later on with more shameless takes.